Grazie, grazie.
Were 3 U.S. Marines lured to an early morning meal by someone they thought was a friend? The Taliban claims that once they met with an Afghan police commander, he shot and killed all 3, then ran off and joined the insurgency. U.S. sources would only say the Marines were on a special operations mission to stabilize a village and had gone to meet a local Afghan contact.
Nonetheless, these incidents do concern us.
They should. It was the 3rd time this week that Afghan troops attacked their American partners.
It is too early to say that this latest incident is part of a stepped-up effort on the insurgents' part.
Of all the NATO troops killed this year, 1 out of 3 have been killed by someone in an Afghan uniform.
Tragically, it has huge implications for our forces and for the Afghan government.
Afghan intelligence officials have sent undercover agents to police recruiting centers to sniff out whether recruits have extremist views. And U.S. commanders have assigned so-called guardian angels to some squads whose only job is to look out for American troops while they're working with Afghan partners.
But they're smart, and they know how to go after us with minimal numbers of killings but maximum strategic effect.
Just a few days ago, 2 suicide bombers detonated their vests in eastern Afghanistan. The blast killed Command Sergeant Major Kevin Griffith, a Bronze Medal recipient on his 6th deployment overseas. Also killed Army Major Tom Kennedy, who hadn't even been in country a month, as well as Air Force Major Walter Gray and a USAID officer. Now, that suicide bomber was obviously killed in the blast as well. As for the man in the Afghan military uniform who shot the 3 Marines, although the Taliban claim that he escaped and joined the insurgency, coalition officials say they quickly apprehended him. Chris Lawrence, CNN, The Pentagon.
At least 24 American troops in Afghanistan attacked and killed by Afghan forces this year. The top commander, General John Allen, is ordering massive new security measures. Starting with his own headquarters in Kabul, Allen has ordered all troops to carry their weapons loaded at all times. It's a headquarters visited by defense secretaries, diplomats, and journalists. Until now, it's only been protected by security forces, ready for instant combat, as they were in September of last year when insurgents attacked from outside the base. But now, across the country, Afghan forces are turning their weapons on NATO and U.S. troops.
Our enemies have attempted to undermine the trust between the coalition and Afghan forces, and in particular, they have tried to take credit for a number of so-called green on blue or insider attacks that have taken place this fighting season.
Since 2007, 69 Americans have been killed by Afghan forces, according to the Pentagon. The military already is using so-called guardian angels, a service member designated to stand watch over others while they eat and sleep, anywhere they might come into contact with Afghan forces. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta is calling once again for better intelligence and better screening of new Afghan recruits. But the Pentagon is emphasizing the attacks are still relatively small in numbers.
I want to stress that these incidents, which have now involved 31 Afghans, do not reflect the pride and dedication of the 350,000 soldiers and police of the Afghan National Security Forces.
Small numbers or not, the attacks are taking their toll. One U.S. military official in Afghanistan, who is now carrying his weapon around the clock, told me everyone is watching everyone else, just in case. Barbara Starr, CNN, The Pentagon.
At least 6 people have reportedly died after a double suicide attack on a key NATO base in central Afghanistan. A man wearing an explosive vest is said to have detonated his device shortly before a booby-trapped vehicle drove into the site in Wardak province. It comes after a bloody week involving several so-called green-on-blue attacks in which rogue Afghan forces have killed NATO troops. The Taliban says it was behind a double suicide bombing that targeted a NATO base in eastern Afghanistan. At least 8 civilians and 4 Afghan policemen were killed, with dozens more wounded in the blast close to the base in Wardak province. The NATO base was hit last year on the eve of the 10th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, when a suicide bomber drove into it. One eyewitness to this morning's blast said the first bombing was carried out by a man on foot. The second blast was carried out by a truck laden with explosives. There were lots of people wounded and loads of shops destroyed, he says. Everything around me was destroyed. Violence is increasing across Afghanistan ahead of the 2014 deadline for NATO to withdraw most of its troops, and fears are mounting that Afghan forces will not be able to tackle insurgents once NATO leaves.